It was just after midnight. Most of the world was asleep. Streets were quiet, homes were still, and phones were left on silent. But in that calm hour, one post online sent a shockwave across the internet. A truth came out that nobody saw coming, and it broke millions of hearts. The woman at the center of it all was Karen Malina White. For many years, she stayed silent. She carried a private truth like a heavy weight on her chest, something she never shared. But on this night, she couldn't keep it inside anymore. It also happened to be the birthday of actor Malcolm Jamal Warner, and instead of posting a kind message or a sweet memory, Karen dropped a revelation so big that it left social media in chaos. People expected the usual, a heartfelt tribute, maybe an old photo, something soft and loving. Instead, she posted something no one could have imagined, a marriage certificate. Not a rumor, not a fan theory, but an official document. Real paper, real signatures, real government stamps. And on it were two names joined together: Malcolm Jamal Warner and Karen Malina White. Underneath the image, Karen wrote only 5 words: "Now you know the truth." The internet erupted. Within minutes, Twitter X was filled with disbelief. Instagram comments came pouring in. Fans were shocked. Many begged for it to be fake. "Please, this can't be true." Some wrote. Others said, "I'm shaking. I can't breathe." But Karen wasn't done. Just a few minutes later, she posted again, this time, a video. It wasn't polished. It wasn't staged. It was grainy, shaky, and dim, like something filmed long ago. In the video, Malcolm stood under soft light, holding a sheet of paper. His hands trembled, his voice cracked as he read a poem. Each word felt heavy and raw, like he was speaking straight from his heart. And then came the final line: "You are not just my love, you are my lawful beginning." Those words silenced the internet. For a moment, there were no jokes, no memes, no distractions, just quiet. Because in that line, he had called her his wife, his legal wife. The rumors that had floated around for years were suddenly real. Karen wasn't just an old friend or an ex. She was the woman he had chosen to marry. But this raised an even bigger question. Why now? Why keep this secret for so long and then reveal it only after his passing? Karen answered that too, and her response was heartbreaking. "Because Malcolm asked me to," she wrote. "We kept our love hidden for peace, but now that he's gone, I must give him the honor he gave me." Those words hit like a tidal wave. TikTok filled with videos of fans crying. People who had never met Karen or Malcolm were openly weeping. Comment sections turned into spaces of grief, because sometimes the strongest love is the one no one sees until it's too late. That night became unforgettable. For most, it was just another ordinary evening. But for fans who woke up the next morning, everything changed. Their favorite actor's life story had a chapter no one knew about. For years, Malcolm and Karen's names had been whispered together. There were small rumors, bits of speculation, but nothing was ever confirmed. They both stayed quiet. They never denied, never explained. Whatever they shared was theirs alone, until now. Karen's posts were nothing like the usual tributes after someone passes. She didn't share a smiling photo or write a nostalgic caption. She didn't speak in soft tones. Instead, she dropped something undeniable: a legal document, signed and sealed. This wasn't gossip. This wasn't a tabloid leak. It was the truth. Within minutes, hashtags spread everywhere. Hashtag she was his wife. Hashtag Karen and Malcolm. Hashtag lawful beginning. People couldn't believe it. TikTok was filled with reaction videos. Some fans burst into tears. Some stared at the camera in shock. Others whispered, "How did none of us know this?" But even that wasn't the end. Karen's final post of the night was the most emotional. It wasn't a paper or a video. It was just a photo, a simple image, and beneath it, she wrote, "You told me to love you in silence. I did, but now I must grieve you out loud." Those words became iconic overnight. They were reposted everywhere. People made art from them. Some even got tattoos. Fans who had never followed either of them found themselves crying. But as the internet mourned, something else started to build a storm of questions. Because Karen's truth was more than emotional, it had legal weight. For years, Malcolm had been linked to actress Tracee Ellis Ross. There were rumors of a secret wedding, even whispers about a child. Some reports claimed there was a $200 million life insurance policy. Nothing was ever proven, but the stories never fully died down. Now, Karen's proof changed everything. If her marriage was real, any claims made by Tracee or anyone else could be invalid. The internet split into camps. Some called Karen brave and praised her for honoring Malcolm's last wish. Others accused her of seeking attention. Hashtags like #JusticeForKaren and #TeamTrace appeared. But Karen stayed quiet after that night. She didn't do interviews or seek the spotlight. Her posts were short and somber. Black screens with captions like, "He wanted peace, and I wanted him." Still, the world around her kept spinning. News outlets covered the story daily. Lawyers began to circle. If Karen's marriage certificate was valid, it could change Malcolm's entire estate. Tracee's team pushed back quickly. They suggested Karen's story was selective and incomplete. They hinted they had evidence of their own. The press started calling it a celebrity legal battle waiting to happen. Fans grew frustrated. Many said it didn't matter what the law said. What mattered was that Malcolm had called Karen his wife. So, because she didn't make it public, it doesn't count. One fan tweeted angrily, "Real love doesn't need an audience." The more people debated, the more they went digging. Old interviews of Malcolm were replayed. Tweets were analyzed. Photos were re-examined. Clips where he vaguely mentioned a private love were now seen as proof. But through it all, one thing was clear. Karen wasn't trying to profit. She was grieving. Her love story was private, and now it was public only because it was his wish. And in the middle of chaos, that made her revelation even more painful and powerful. In the days that followed, fans, media, and even other celebrities continued to talk. Some called it the saddest love story they'd ever heard. Others were caught up in the drama. But at its core, it was simple. A woman loved a man deeply, and he loved her back. They kept it quiet for peace, and when he was gone, she gave him the respect of being remembered as he truly was, her husband. In the end, Karen's midnight confession didn't just reveal a marriage. It revealed a legacy. It reminded people that love can be private, silent, and still be the strongest force in a person's life. And when it finally comes to light, it can shake the world. When the controversy began, brands quietly started removing Tracee from their ads and campaigns. It was clear which way the public was leaning, and it wasn't in her favor. The internet had taken a side, and the tide of opinion was strong. But while Tracee's public image was being dismantled, Karen's pain only deepened. Each new headline, every fresh court document, and every rumor turned her private grief into a spectacle. What had once been a deeply private love story, hidden from the world, had now become one of the most public battles anyone could imagine. And yet, through all of it, Karen refused to waver. She remained steady. In one rare post, she wrote a single sentence that cut through all the noise. "The world thinks I want money. I want peace," Malcolm had once said to her. "When the time comes, tell them, don't let me disappear." She took that to heart. So when the moment arrived, she did exactly that. She didn't speak to win. She spoke to make sure Malcolm was remembered. Those simple words spoken not for revenge, not for recognition, but for love crushed what little strength her critics had left. Because when you stripped everything else away, this was not about Karen versus Tracee. It wasn't about lawsuits, assets, or headlines. It was about love. A love strong enough to stay hidden for years, and so tragic that it only surfaced after death. People across the world began calling it the saddest love story of the century. TikTok videos carried captions like, "She hid her love to protect him. She revealed her love to honor him." The line turned into something of a mantra, repeated by millions who found themselves crying over a story that felt both intimate and universal. As the legal fight continued, one thing remained clear. No argument, no lawyer, no courtroom could ever erase Malcolm's words. His voice, captured forever in that grainy video, said it all. You are not just my love. You are my lawful beginning. That one sentence carried more weight than any piece of paper or legal claim. It was pure, undeniable proof of a man's commitment to a woman, even if the world only found out after he was gone. Because sometimes the strongest evidence isn't in documents or signatures. Sometimes it's in the way someone's voice shakes when they say your name. The day of the hearing, the courtroom was packed. There weren't bright lights or television crews. There was just a tense, heavy silence. On one side sat Karen Malina White. She wore black, quiet and composed, holding a folder close to her chest like it was the last piece of Malcolm she had left. On the other side was Tracy Ellis Ross, calm and polished, her attorneys surrounding her like a shield. When the judge entered, the entire room stood. For weeks, the internet had been in turmoil. Hashtags were everywhere, fans were divided, and opinions clashed daily. But here, inside this room, none of that mattered. The only thing that mattered was the truth. Karen's attorney spoke first. He laid out the evidence methodically: a legally signed and stamped marriage certificate, sworn witness statements confirming the ceremony, and photographs too personal to be staged. Then came the video, the same one Karen had shared online, now playing on a large screen for the court. Malcolm's trembling voice filled the room. You are not just my love. You are my lawful beginning. The room froze. Even the judge bowed his head. Tracy's legal team countered, arguing that the marriage was little more than a technicality, never publicly celebrated, never acknowledged in the spotlight. But Karen's attorney delivered a single line that silenced the noise. In the eyes of the law, you don't need an audience to be a wife. You just need the truth, and the truth is right here. Gasps filled the room. Outside, reporters rushed to send updates. Live feeds buzzed, and fans around the world followed every moment, tissues in hand. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. Karen herself was called to testify. She walked slowly to the stand. Every step seemed heavier than the last. When she spoke, her voice was steady, but her eyes told the story of years of quiet pain. For years, she began, I loved Malcolm in silence. Not because I was ashamed, but because we both wanted peace. Fame is loud. Love is quiet, he always said. The world doesn't need to know. We know. So I kept our love a secret. Not for days, not for months, but for decades. I buried my truth so he could have peace. Her words cut through the room like a blade. People in the gallery cried openly. Even the stenographer's hands trembled. She continued. Before he passed, he looked at me and said, when I'm gone, don't let them erase you. Don't let them erase us. That's why I'm here. Not for money, not for attention, but because I promised my husband that I would honor him the way he honored me. The courtroom dissolved into tears. Tracy's attorneys tried to object, but it didn't matter. No legal strategy could erase what had just been spoken. Outside, the internet exploded. The hashtag she was his wife trended worldwide. Celebrities shared Karen's testimony, calling it the most heartbreaking declaration of love they had ever heard. Finally, the judge spoke. His voice was calm, but heavy with meaning. This court recognizes Karen Malina White as the lawful wife of Malcolm Jamal Warner. It was over. Those words ended the debate. The shouting online stopped. The arguments dissolved. Karen closed her eyes. It wasn't triumph she felt, it was grief. Because for her, this was never about victory. It was about keeping a promise. Tracy, left quietly, hidden behind dark glasses, her world began to crumble almost instantly. Brands cut ties, fans distanced themselves, and headlines turned sharp. But Karen didn't watch her leave. She didn't care about revenge. She was there for Malcolm. Days later, Karen gave the world one last offering. She posted a single photograph. Not papers, not legal proof, just a simple, faded picture of her and Malcolm smiling together. There was no posing, no polish, just two people, happy and in love. The caption was only 12 words. You told me to love in silence. Now I grieve out loud. The internet broke. TikTok videos carried her words over soft piano music. Instagram feeds filled with tributes. Fans tattooed the quote on their skin. News outlets called it the most heartbreaking post of the decade. But the impact didn't end there. Something remarkable happened. Around the world, people began sharing their own hidden stories, quiet relationships kept from the public eye, widows who had never spoken of their grief, lovers who had carried secrets for years. Karen's courage opened a door for others to release what they had buried. Her story had grown beyond Malcolm, beyond Tracy, beyond the courtroom. It became a movement, a reminder that real love doesn't always need an audience. That sometimes, the strongest love lives in silence until the day it demands to be heard. After that post, Karen stepped back. No interviews, no book deals, no TV specials. She returned to silence, but this time, it wasn't secrecy. It was peace. She had kept her promise. She had honored the man she loved, and because of that, she gave the world a story so powerful and so unforgettable that it will echo long after the hashtags fade. When people look back, they won't just remember the courtroom or the drama. They will remember that one undeniable truth. Karen Malina White wasn't just Malcolm Jamal Warner's wife. She was proof that some love stories are too strong to stay hidden. Because sometimes, love doesn't need applause. It lives quietly, and when that silence finally breaks, the world can't help but listen. And that's where this chapter ends, but the story stays with us. Karen's journey wasn't about fame or winning a fight. It was about keeping a promise and honoring a love that outlived everything else. Her silence spoke louder than any headline, and when she finally shared the truth, the world stopped to listen. Maybe that's why this story hurts. It reminds us that real love doesn't need applause, only courage. So as we close this video, remember, some love stories aren't written in lights, they're whispered in the dark.